Hello and welcome to this tutorial video for how to use two of the three scripts that come with Reflection Designer. Now, Reflection Designer is a new product for DAZ Studio. Its purpose is to help you control where reflections occur in your scene. Now, there's a number of different ways that it does this, and we're going to cover the first two scripts that you can see here, Reflection Designer Move Camera and Reflection Designer Move Reflection. These are scripts that are really useful for controlling scene objects, or at least controlling the way that scene objects appear. If you want to instead control lighting objects, then you would use the full Reflection Designer script. But for this particular video, we're going to be focusing on these first two. Now, to begin this, I have a scene already created. It has three major characteristics. You can see we have Michael, we have the scene, and then we have the Daz Crystal Dragon. Now, the Daz Crystal Dragon has already been posed, and you can see that its position is 000, which means that it's at the origin and its scale is 250. So I'm just going to come over here and frame in on Michael real quick so you can see that Michael's wearing a pair of glasses, and these are actually sunglasses. I've changed the material on these glasses so that they're going to be highly reflective. And I also have a camera in the scene, so if I switch over here to the camera, you can see that I'm looking up on Michael, and we're going to be trying to see a reflection in these glasses of the dragon. So there are a number of things that we need to do in order to make that happen. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead and click off of everything here. And I'm going to come over here to Tool Settings. Now, if you don't see this panel, you're going to need it. So come over here to Window, down to Panes, and then come over here to Tool Settings and open it up, then dock it somewhere within the user interface. Now, I'm going to start here with the active tool being the Universal tool, which is the third one down. But I'm also going to be using the geometry editor. So I'm going to be using both of those tools. I'm going to go ahead and go to Michael, and I'm simply going to go ahead and click on these glasses so that I'm going to expand all the way out to these glasses. You can see we have to go through a number of nodes till we get to those glasses. We're going to need that. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here to perspective view, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the dragon. I'm going to frame on the dragon real quick so I can get a good angle on the dragon. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on the head so that we have that selected. And if that doesn't take, because you see it didn't expand here, so I'm just going to click again. There we go. Now it expands all the way out to the head. So what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and have easy access to those two nodes. Those are going to be the two things that we're going to be changing. So I'm going to switch back over here to the glasses real quick, frame in on them. And what I want to do is I want to choose a polygon. The polygon is going to determine where the reflection is going to occur. So if I switch out of this mode that we're currently in, which is texture shaded, and I switch over here to hidden line, we can actually see the polygons that make up this pair of glasses. And what I want to do is I want to select just one of these polygons. If you can choose more than one, it really isn't going to affect anything, but it will only count the first one that you select. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose the geometry editor, which we already talked about. And this is going to allow me to make a selection. Now, the way in which it's making the selection right now is currently it's going to be choosing polygon. If I right click out here, you can see that we have the ability to choose the selection type of polygon selection, edge selection, or vertex selection. I want to stick with polygon selection. And the selection mode is marquee, lasso, or drag selection. Drag selection is the one I want to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this selection mode, which is going to give me this red dot that you see here. And if I click and drag, I can drag a selection, but only the first one that I selected is going to be the one that this is going to use. So I really only want to select one polygon at a time. And I want to do this really through my camera if I can. So the only thing that might catch me out is that the polygons might be too small and the circle might be too big from this angle. But basically what I want to do is just I want to click over there somewhere, and you can see that that's giving me a selection, but it's too much. I've gotten too much. So if I come back over here, you can see I've got 6 polygons instead of 1. So I just want to click off and click on just the one polygon that I actually wanted to select. I'm going to go back over here to the camera view. Now that I'm out of that, I can just come over here to the texture shaded again, and you can see we have that yellow selection that's indicating that that polygon is selected. You don't need to go into that mode. I only do that so that you can actually see the actual polygons. But here you can click and make the same selection if you need to. I just like to be precise about what I'm showing you. So now that I have this selection using the geometry editor on this particular object, this is the thing that we're going to be looking at the reflection in. I'm going to come over to the head and I'm hold down the control key and I'm going to click on that. So now both items are selected, the glasses as well as the head of the dragon. And this is going to be where the translation is going to be occurring, is at the head, which is really important. So now that I've done that, I can come back over here in my content library and I can go ahead and choose the one that I want to use right now, which is Reflection Designer Move Reflection. And this really can be thought of as Reflection Designer Move Object, because that's basically what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that to load that. And then I'm just going to choose reset so that we get that dragon back to what would be the default settings. So you can see it's like right on top of the character. It's only at 100 centimeters away, 1 meter. And so what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and zoom out. So I'm going to go ahead and take the radius, and then I can do longitude, which is going to be up and down, and I can do latitude, which is going to be side to side. So I'm just going to be moving this object far enough away to where we're not getting any intersection with the pavement, because that's my first concern. So I want to make sure that we're not getting any intersection with the pavement. I can also change the scale of the dragon up or down to get exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe I want the dragon to be a little bit bigger here. And what I want to do is I want to move around until I get to a point where I'm viewing more or less from behind Michael. So something like that right there. I kind of want to be viewing this from his position or something close to his position, right? Something like that. So I'm just looking at the dragon's looking at me, and now I'm going to go ahead and move the rotation of the dragon using the head. That was the node that we had selected for the dragon. So we're moving the whole dragon, but it's centered around moving the head. And what I basically want is for the dragon to be intimidating Michael. I want it to be, looking at him and kind of glaring at him and trying to intimidate Michael. But Michael's not having it. He's not going to be intimidated at all. He's going to be like, yeah, what? I got a gun, so what? So that's basically the story that we're going with here. Now, once I have the dragon positioned where I want, and again, I can, get a different view until I'm happy with that position. But the other thing that like I said, I typically make sure of is that the object is far enough away to where we're not getting any intersections. And, just change the scale of the object until you're happy with it. I think that looks good. So I'm gonna hit reset camera, not reset, but reset camera. That's gonna take me back to my original camera view. And now I can preview this in iRay. So I'm just gonna click this little iRay preview. It's gonna take me in iRay. Now, the important thing to understand about this is that you could have had that iRay preview on the whole time. The reason why I didn't is because I'm recording video right now, and that chews up a lot of GPU. And so if I have iRay rendering the whole time while I'm recording video the whole time, and I'm trying to move these sliders in real time, everything's going to be too slow, and you're not really going to get a good feel for how this works. Now, because on your system, you may have a more powerful video card than I do, or you may not be recording video like I am, in which case you're going to be able to move these sliders in real time and see it with the iRay preview at all points in time. But you can see that I've got my dragon right there at the place where I made my selection. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit accept. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at what actually happened to the scene. So there's one thing that I would do before you get any further than that, and that would be to come back over here to the glasses, click on them. You can see that selection is still active. So just right click, then choose geometry selection and clear selection. That'll get rid of that. And now I'm just going to come over here to perspective, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that dragon. So I'm going to go ahead and frame the dragon up, and you can see it got moved outside of the boundaries of the cement. And it also is larger, and the position of it has changed, as well as the rotations of it have changed. So the whole thing is different from what it was, and this was all done in the script so that we get exactly the reflection that we want. Now, again, the key here is that we're leaving the camera where it was, and we're moving the object so that it appears in the reflection where we want it to appear in the reflection. Now, that's one way that you can solve this problem. The second way that you can solve the problem is you could keep the two objects where they are and move the camera instead. And so I have a scene that's prepared to where we can look at that. So I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to open that up. So it's got a slightly different name, but it's basically the same kind of scene. The only thing that I've changed about the scene is that I want to maintain the position of the objects. So the story is more about the relationship of the objects to each other versus the reflection per se. In this last one, it really didn't matter where the object ended up, so long as it ended up in the reflection where I wanted it to end up. In this next one, it's going to matter where these two things are in relationship to each other. And probably in my case, why I would do that is because I would want to be doing a comic book where I want to have one panel where we're seeing the reflection where we want to see the reflection. Then I want to have other panels where it shows the overall scene where these guys are in relationship to each other. So like I said before, this one has some slight differences. If I switch over here out of my camera to perspective view, you can see the dragon is different. He's actually standing on the pavement. He's in a different pose, and he's looking down at Michael, and Michael's looking up at him. So that's basically all that's going on in this scene. It's a little bit different in the sense that there's different poses on the characters, but the main difference here is the fact that these guys are actually where they need to be, and I don't want to move either of them. I want them to stay exactly where they are, but I want the camera instead to move so that we get the reflection where we want it to be. So in this case, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to click on Michael, and I'm going to go back to my tool settings and go back over here to Universal. So now that I have Michael selected, I'm just going to go ahead and select on the glasses and then frame to the glasses, because the important thing here is to make sure that we have the glasses. Now, the other thing that we want to do is we want to go to the dragon. Remember, we want to get that dragon's head because that's what we want. So I accidentally, you saw I just parented that. So I'm just going to undo that so that that didn't happen because we don't want that. Click on the dragon. I'm going to frame that, and I'm going to get the head because we want that node. So you can see now we have the head node, and over here under Michael, we should be able to get those glasses, and we're not yet. So let me just go ahead and get those glasses again. So till we can get easy, there we go. Now we have easy access. So you click on these guys just so that you could have easy access to those nodes, the head node and the glasses node. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and frame on the glasses. And what I'm looking for here, again, is to choose a polygon. So I'm going to choose the geometry editor tool. And for this one, the story is I want the reflection to appear right where Michael is looking, right? So I'm going to choose something like that, that one right there. That looks pretty good to me. That looks like he's glaring right at the dragon. The dragon's glaring right at him, and I want the reflection to appear. So you might think, well, this is exactly what the scene that we would want, but that's not really true at all, because the way that the reflections work is that you kind of need the dragon to be off angle from the camera. So that's basically the whole purpose of the script, is to take care of that math for you. So I'm going to go back to the camera, and then I'm going to come over here to my content library. Remember, we have Reflection Designer. It requires two inputs. It requires the object with a polygon selection, and then the object that's going to be in the reflection, in this case, the head. So I'm going to hold down Control, click on the head. So I have both those objects selected, the glasses as well as the head. And then I'm going to go ahead and double click on this. And immediately it's going to take me into the appropriate placement for this. Now, this is the most appropriate, and if it doesn't look right to you, you can always just hit reset. That will take you directly to the correct placement for this. Now, again, if I choose the iRay preview, I'll see what that looks like, and I'll do that right now because I want you to understand what you're going to be giving up by changing any of these sliders. So the perfect placement for the camera is at 100 centimeters or 1 meter away from the object, and we're going to be getting the reflection exactly where we intended for it to be, where we had that selection. So the head will appear right there in the glasses. Now you can change the distance. There's no problem with changing the distance at all. So if you wanted to move the distance further away, or you wanted to move the distance closer, you can see that we're able to do that. We're not going to lose our reflection at all. Now, because of the curvature of the lens here, it might change the shape of the reflection of the head, and that might not be optimal. But basically, you can move the distance slider, and you're not going to see anything changing as far as the positioning of the reflection. But as soon as you change the horizontal or vertical, it's going to change the positioning of the reflection. Like I said, I know that this is a bit slow because I'm recording right now, but it's important that you see how this is going to be changing. So basically, I'm just sliding the camera left and right, horizontal, and it's moving that reflection. I can also do vertical, meaning up or down. So I'm doing down or up. And what's going to happen is it's changing the position of that reflection. Now, some of this has to do with the curvature of the lens, right? But some of it has to do with the fact that we're moving the camera in space. And so we're no longer at the perfect location for that reflection. However, this might be necessary for the story that you want to tell. That's an important thing to understand. You also have another option here, which is auto aim. So auto aim is going to take a different approach. Auto aim, and I'll just hit reset here real quick to get back to the ideal positioning of 100 centimeters, where we get that exactly where we want. Auto aim is going to take a different approach. So if I click auto aim, it's going to start at this spot. And again, I can zoom in, so I can get in closer if I want to. But where it's going to be different is the horizontal and vertical is going to be treated as if we were constantly focusing and rotating around that spot. Now, there's a danger of this, and the danger of this is that we may lose our reflection placement, right? So you want to be very, very careful about this. I mean, you can go pretty strongly in other directions, and you can lose your reflection placement, or things can become so distorted because of the curvature of the lens or something like that. So it's something that you can do, and it's something that you want to be aware of, but be very, very careful about it because you may not actually get the story that you want. Now, in this particular case, this actually works out better for me because this is closer to what I actually intended. Now, I may need to change my background, my HDR background, in order to be able to keep this camera angle. But I like the placement of the head, and it's pretty close to the story that I wanted to tell. So, like I said, you have a couple of different options here. The auto aim off is going to be moving the camera left or right or up or down, whereas auto aim is going to be causing it to rotate around the selected polygon. Once you're happy with what you've got, you simply hit accept, and that will then kick us out. If you remember what I said before, you want to go back to the glasses, click on the glasses. You'll see we still have that selected, so I'm just going to right click and choose geometry selection, clear selection. That'll get rid of that selection. Now, if I collapse these guys and I just go ahead and move out into perspective view and I frame this off of the whole scene, you can see the position of these guys didn't change at all. The only thing that changed this position was the camera. And it did that so that we could get the reflection that we wanted for our story. That's really all there is to these two scripts. One moves the object to get the reflection you want. The other one moves the camera to get the reflection you want. And like I said, you can do this in real time with iRay. You saw I was able to do it here, although it was a bit slow because I'm recording. But the most important thing I wanted to leave you with as far as these two scripts are concerned is this one moves your object, this one moves your camera. Other than that, they do basically the exact same thing. You make a selection, the reflection appears where you make the selection. Reflection Designer is going to be about placing light objects where you are selecting for your reflections. And this can allow you to do really, really complex lighting situations where you're getting really interesting reflections and you're able to pick up details of shiny objects like metals and glass. But that's something for another video. Thank you.